All right, so I made my first 100K producing trap, and it also made me a top 2% producer with over 123 million streams. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I did it and how you can copy me without having to figure it all out by yourself. Now, the first and biggest problem that I had and that I see for most producers nowadays is that we have no brand. And the problem when you have no brand is that you can't really reach the people who have the money. Now, what do I mean by that? So basically, when you don't have any brand, nobody's really going to be interested in working with you. And the only people that you're going to be able to work with are small artists. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. That's how we all start. But the problem with working with small artists is that they're very hard to make money from. And I'm going to explain why. Working with small artists has a cap because they can't afford high priced beats. And think of it logically. So basically, if you have an artist, they're working a 9 to 5, then even if they spend money outside of their 9 to 5, they're not going to have a whole lot to spend. That's the first thing. So they don't have a lot of money. When they release songs and they only get 1,000 streams for that song, they're not going to make any money of that song. So it's almost unreasonable for them. Like, why would I spend 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 on a beat when there's no actual return for me in doing that? Just think of it yourself. Would you spend 2, 3,000 for something that you would not make back? Doesn't make sense. And that is when you're stuck selling low price beats like $30 releases, $50 releases. The only problem with that is that you need to sell a lot of beats. You need to sell a whole bunch of beats to make something from that. And that's very hard because then what you need to do is that you need to build an audience. And building an audience is no easy thing. It takes a lot of time. You need to get good at content creation. You need to get good at a whole lot of things. And you need to develop a whole new skill set that isn't just producing. I also tried that and it didn't really work. Then when that didn't work, I started, cold DMing, trying with the email lists, but it never really went anywhere. The reason it didn't go anywhere is because these cold DMs, cold email lists are just that, they're cold. And if there's one thing I learned, is that people work with people they like. People want to build relationships and work with people they like, not just somebody that sends them stuff, because they probably have a lot of people that just send stuff or might lead to something, but it's not going to lead to a whole lot. I actually had a conversation yesterday with a guy who had that problem. He was doing email lists, he was doing all of that. He might get responses, but people wouldn't use it. If you really want people to use your stuff, of course, you need to have good stuff. But if you have some kind of relationship developed with them, it's going to become even easier. The whole reason for that, for why you want a brand, is because when you have a strong brand, you're going to be able to get to bigger artists, work with bigger producers, and people are going to care more about you. If you think about it like this, if Metro Boomin DM'd you now, you're most likely going to respond, right? Whereas if some random producer who you don't know who it is, he just have black screen recordings on his page, you have no idea who that is and why you should care about him, you're probably not going to care. And then the funny thing is that when you have a strong brand, it affects your beats too. Like, I've had beats that people didn't want to use, that they didn't use them. They even said they were whack. But then once I had, top 50 records and records on the charts, all of that stuff, all of a sudden the beats were good. So your brand also affects how people view your music, because music is all just subjective at the end of the day anyways. What I was doing was not building my brand. That was the big problem. And because I wasn't building a brand, I couldn't get to the bigger artists so that I could get the bigger checks. And I had no clear strategy either on how to actually go about that. Now, before we get into how we can fix these things and actually get you to a place where you can work with people who have bigger following, etc. If you want a copy of this Google Doc and to learn more about getting high value placements, then I'm sharing it for free inside of my free community. And here you can see the community. We're all just chilling, hanging out. People are getting wins. and it's a great time. So you're very welcome to join that if you like. Now, how I actually went about leveling up. So main thing was building a brand. Now, building a brand isn't as simple as just having good looking Instagram pictures, even though that's a big part of it. The biggest part about your brand is what you've done and who you work with. But before we get into that, let's just look at the Instagram stuff. So first of all, there's basically 3 types of content that any producer have. There's 3 types of content. You have proof, process, and personality. Proof, that's like placements, your beats. When you're just starting out and you don't have anything yet, your beats are proof, because if your beats are good, that's your proof that you know what you're doing and that you're making some good music. Then we have process. Process, that is you making beats, cooking up pictures in the studio, stuff like that. Then we have personality, and personality is things outside of music. It's good to have some lifestyle stuff mixed in. And that can be you on a night out, golfing, whatever you like to do. You can have pictures of that to show off some personality. And this is just to kind of break up the feed, not make it just like, oh, I'm a producer, but actually a real human being. Here's a screenshot of my old profile. So basically, a lot of releases, of course, picture of me in the studio, then some lifestyle images, nothing too crazy at all. I could honestly have done a better job with this, but it worked. That is the 3 types of content, and you could even see that on mine. When you got that all set up, then it's time to start networking, and networking smart. So what I mean by that is networking smart just means actually being targeted in your networking and figure out where you want to go. So the first thing I do is that I figure out, okay, where do I want to be? Who do I want to work with? Then I reverse engineer back from there. So it's like, okay, I want to work with this big artist. All right, who does he know? Are they too big for me right now? Okay, cool. Then who do they know? Then I can start working in that direction. When you're just starting out, you won't be able to reach big artists. That's how it is. But the more you grow your brand and the more associations you have with people connected to them, you're going to be able to do that. The thing about that is that you want to find these people and you want to actually connect with them. And instead of just sending a bunch of random DMs saying, hey, check out my shit, I found it worked the best when, and this isn't just me, but this is for other people as well, other people doing this right now as we speak. And I found that it works best when you actually build a natural forming relationship. And the way that you do that is by first starting with comments and showing love in public. So basically going to somebody's Instagram, leaving a specific comment on one of their posts or whatever. And then once you get a response, then you reach out, then you DM. And this does 2 things. First of all, you're not just some kind of, hey, check out my shit type of spammer. Second of all, you're getting recognition. So if you comment first, people are going to see your face from the comments and everything else. And then they're more likely to interact with you because there's some form of recognition there. Then when you get in the DMs, start a conversation. I like to ask about whatever it was that I commented on, then lead that conversation towards, beats and stuff like that. Okay, cool. So this is a real life example of that actually in action. So this guy, he actually commented on this artist's post, but then that artist actually reached out to him. He didn't even have to reach out. So he wants beats. And then my guy was just about to reach out. Are you looking for a similar vibe? Or are you trying something new? I can do whatever. So it's like you're checking what they actually want and what they need, and then you get them that. Same vibe, something new. I'm really versatile, so I can really go in on anything. Then he talked a little bit more with the artist, kept building a relationship, and then he actually got his phone number, which is super good because if you have the phone number, you have direct contact, and it's easier to send out beats in the future and to stay in touch. So then he started sending out beats, sent some beats in just iMessage for simplicity. Okay, cool. I like that. I need shit like that. Like he sent him a beat. Okay, got you. Let's hop on a call tomorrow. And then he even took it one step further and got on a call so that he can figure out exactly what he wants and what he needs and then give him that. And that's an example of smart networking. And then you do that for every single person in the bigger artist network. And then you kind of move up because you're going to work with them and deliver fantastic beats, do a great job with them, and actually get shit happening, get shit in the door. And then when you do that, and I know that a lot of people say, oh, no free beats, no free beats. I agree. You shouldn't devalue yourself at all. But I found that when you're starting out, and in certain cases, working for free has been beneficial for me because sometimes it's not free. It might not be a monetary gain, but it might be a gain in some other way. So I used to work for free strategically. And I had free questions that I asked myself all the time to like kind of filter out my opportunities. So the questions I used to ask myself was, will this artist make bigger songs than the ones I already have? If yes, I would consider working for free. Does this artist know people that I want to know and connect with? If yes, I could consider working for free. Lastly is, will working with this artist give me experience that I don't already have? Like, will I learn something from doing this? Then I could consider working for free. Now, the thing about that is that the higher and higher you go, the more people you work with, the less people will actually fit that description. So if you think about it, when you're just starting out, just about anyone will fit that description. And it's a good thing because you don't know what you're doing yet. Your beats probably aren't that good. And even if they're good, you don't know how to make beats for artists and how to match what artists want. So that's thing number one. So you need that experience. Then when it comes to recording, mixing, engineering, you probably have no experience in that either. So you will learn a bunch. So that's why it's like, why would you demand pay when you're not even good at something? Doesn't make sense. But here you can actually get good. So that's thing number one. Then once you've done that, once you recorded with somebody, you learn that skill and you learn how to make beats for artists, etc. Then it's like the next artist you get, are you gonna gain that same experience from that? No. Then you can charge. If it doesn't happen so to be that working with this artist will actually give you a big song or bigger than ones you already have, because that grows your brand, right? So in that case, you're not gaining in terms of money, but you're gaining in terms of brand. And your brand will help you, as I said at the beginning, get to the bigger artists so that you can make money. And then the last thing is, do they know people that you want to know? Because for example, you might work with somebody for free, you do a great job, and then they get people, or maybe you even agree on that. Like, okay, I'll do this for free, but can you reach out to this guy and try to get him in the studio once we have some songs, and you can show them that I'm doing good work. Again, you're gaining, just not money, but you're gaining. And then for the people that he gets, guess what? You can charge. So sometimes working for free strategically has helped me a lot. Then when it came to payments, when it came to actually making the money, I focused a lot on royalty splits. Now, when it comes to royalty splits, of course, you want to be... It depends on who you're doing it with, but because if you have an artist and they're like getting 1,000 streams a song, of course you want to try and avoid royalty splits. But if the artist is streaming like 1 to 10 million per song and it's in that range, and you're making a lot of songs with them, you're releasing, then of course royalty splits is a good thing. Like if a song gets 10 million streams, you take 30% on that. That's a win. So you're going to keep getting paid for it. And as time passes, you're going to have made more than if you just went straight for the upfront payment. Also, when you're doing these songs, PRO, so performance rights organizations, get 50-50 on that, or split it equally between everybody involved in the record. There's different PROs for different countries. You just have to look up yours, see what the rules are, register, and make sure that when you're dealing with artists that you actually register for that. And if you build a working relationships with these people, this should not be a very hard thing to do. And that's also a thing which I wanted to touch on, which is that I started by charging per song. If I did upfront payments, I would charge per song. And the reason I charge per song is because I found that easier. Because it's one thing to just say, hey, here's the beat, pay for it, use it. But that can be very hard, especially when you're just starting out. However, if you charge per song, it's like, okay, we worked on this. Now you have a song, it's ready to go, it's ready to get shipped. And that's something that you want to communicate early so that there's no misunderstandings or whatever. But that is something that you can take, like, for example, you started working, he's like, okay, I want these beats. Okay, nice. And when it comes to releasing, bro, just so you know, I'm charging X amount per song. And you can even lay it up like this, like, because, hey, I don't want you to spend beats that you might spend on beats that you might not be using. Instead, I charge per song because that way you actually know that you're going to get something back from this, whatever. And when it came to that, I started with 500 per song, because when you charge per song, you can charge higher because it's a full song and it's done, it's finished. And then I just kept increasing as my brand grew. So the outcome of all of this was that, first of all, collabs and placements with bigger artists. Now, when I talk about bigger artists, I'm from Sweden. I have not worked with these world artists, but I worked with artists who have 500K plus to 1 million monthly listeners, and that's where I've seen the money is. So you can take that as a positive note, that even if you're not reaching the biggest of the biggest, or if you're in a country where people aren't that big, you can still make a good living doing this. Then the networking snowballed. So with every person that I connected with every person that I work with, the connections just snowballed. Because you do good work with somebody, they're going to refer somebody else. And that's how you grow your brand. And then you post that. Like, you post your wins. You post the songs you release. People are going to see that. You're going to get mutual followers. Like, you work with people, they follow you, and they're in the network of the bigger artists that you want to reach. Then when you reach out to the bigger artists, they're going to see, oh, he worked with so-and-so. Oh, he has a song with him. Oh, he's followed by this guy. And it just grows your brand. It grows your credibility and it grows your proof. And as your brand grows, as your proof grows, it's easier to charge more for your beats because they're actually worth more. Because as I said in the beginning, unfortunately, as a producer, you don't have an inherent value. Your value is the songs you made and what you have achieved. And if you have a bunch of charting records, if you have a bunch of streams, if you have worked with a bunch of people that have so-called status, then you get that too. And then, of course, taking royalty splits, and that paid off way more in the long run. And I can recommend that if you're working with independent artists, go ahead and do that. Lastly, of course, got to 100K without low ticket beat sales, because it's very hard to get to that point because you need a huge audience, and a huge audience is hard to build. This way you don't have to build an audience. You just have to build you. And the lessons learned here is that work with people who have momentum, not just anyone, but work with people who are going somewhere themselves. Then build a brand that attracts opportunities instead of chasing them. So yes, you need to be aggressive outwards in the beginning, but as your brand grows, people are going to start reaching out to you. You won't be the one reaching out. And the power dynamic there is completely different. Strategic free work and networking beats spamming every time.